Sebastian Martinez, MMAnytt, here with SOREN, the true Viking Bak, who faces off with PADDY PIMBLETT, the hometown hero in Liverpool, for the vacant Cage Warriors lightweight belt. So, SOREN, I gotta say, Cage Warriors released one of the most unique and impressive trailers I've seen for an MMA fight in a long time. We talked about it on a podcast about how the UFC, you can kind of switch out any of the fighters, any of the numbers of the events, and the trailers will more or less be the same. This truly felt very unique and personal, and tying into the history and culture of Liverpool and, you know, the Danish Vikings going over. What's the response been like from your fans, and what did you feel yourself about seeing the final product?
Oh, it's been amazing. People love it, and it's really good to see that Cage Warriors really go full in, and really try to make something of the production value, and you can clearly see it in the video.
And what was it like in the process of making it? Because, I mean, it's got like, it almost builds up to like a climax where it's like you realize, oh, you're walking to the event. And what exactly was the filming process like? Yeah,
so they flew me over for 2 days of filming. We had to do a lot of interviews the first day, and we did most of the promotion video on the second day. And we really just started by the water and moved our way in to Liverpool, walking through Liverpool with the nags and fur on.
And you must have got some interesting reactions in town after that.
Yeah, well, most of the reaction was actually like people coming up to me and saying, good luck with the fight. A few guys saying they hope that I win. That wasn't really what I expected when I got to Liverpool, but it's nice.
And that's very interesting because Pimblett is extremely popular in Liverpool. I mean, you fought on the same card as him once. He's greeted like a hero. You've fought as an away fighter a couple times in Finland, for example, but you've never fought PADDY PIMBLETT in Liverpool. I mean, it's a whole different level of like booing and cheering and stuff like that. Is that something that you thought about?
Yeah, but like you said, I tried it maybe on a small scale before, so it did. I don't think it really matters that much. When I walk in, I'm completely focused, and nothing the crowd can do or say will really affect anything I do.
So you're coming into a fight off an impressive finish over Alexander Jakobsen, and PADDY PIMBLETT also coming in off an impressive finish. What did you feel about his performance in his last fight, and how do you feel about yours as well?
Yeah, we both come up of impressive wins, you could say, and well, Paddy might be was more of a spectacular win, so to speak, with his flying submissions, but I also feel like the quality of opponents we had was a little different as well, coming with Alexander Jakobsen that just fought for the belt and lost. But that's not really my call, but that's kind of where I'm at. I think my win was more impressive than his, actually.
Yeah, well, there's definitely a lot of credence to that based on, I mean, if you look at the opponent he fought, his record, which is like, I think 19-8 or something like that, and then obviously Alexander Jakobsen, one of the hottest prospects out of Norway, with a pretty great record.
Yeah.
Do you feel, overall, looking at the competition that you've faced and that he's faced, do you feel that's something that's been sort of like similar throughout your careers, or do you feel like this is just a one-off?
Well, so Paddy, he's just kind of an awkward guy to prepare for, but I don't think he's actually like a better fighter than many of the people I just faced. But he's definitely a good fighter, and because he's so awkward in everything he does and very good at some of the things he does, he's a difficult opponent to prepare himself for.
Yeah. All right. So, like you said, he's a very awkward guy, and that obviously means that it might be a little bit hard to train for somebody like that. How do you go about, like, what training partners do you use? Do you use someone with, you know, certain specialties, or, you know, like, how do you go about someone with such an, like you said, awkward and kind of weird style where you don't really know what's coming and where it's coming from?
Yeah. So, we do a lot of things. Mostly we focus on what I'm trying to better my own game, and so the clinch and the stand-up game. But we also take in a lot of good grapplers because we know Paddy is a slick grappler, and just prepare for the defense if he tries for anything. also we have a lot of good guys in the MMA team, just regulars that go and kind of mimics what they can do from Paddy style. So best to prepare me for that. Yeah.
A colleague of mine, Jim Edwards, recently interviewed Pimblett, and Pimblett had a small little cast, or not a cast, but like some bandages on his arm. He said it wasn't anything major, stuff like that, but is that something you've noticed, and is that something you think about in a fight? Like, do you perhaps think it will affect him?
Well, he had it on when we did our interviews, and the interviewers were like, maybe you should take that off. It's on camera, this. So he doesn't care, and he told me that he was walking around for a few weeks after the fight where he broke his hand and didn't notice until a few trainings afterwards where it's like, my hand still hurts and maybe you should get to the doctor, man. Well, I don't think it really will affect him in the fight because a lot of adrenaline is going in and he says it's okay, so kind of gotta believe that. But yeah, the thing I noticed from that interview was he kind of talks about he doesn't cut weight now because he moved up a weight class. Mm-hmm. Kind of jealous right now. Yeah.
Well, do you feel that, you know, when you look at some recent events, for example, in the UFC, we've seen that weight difference can make, you know, it can mean a lot, like what you weigh on fight day as opposed to what you weigh on the weigh-ins. He doesn't necessarily look a whole lot smaller. He doesn't necessarily look like he's, coming from a division lower. But how do you feel about sort of like the strength and weight disparities? Do you think that's going to be a difference as well?
Yeah, definitely. He's actually a little bit taller than me, but we kind of built differently. So I'm a much bigger frame, and he's much smaller, thinner, you would say. And when he says he doesn't have to cut weight for the fight, that's like then I'm at least 10 kilos heavier than him on fight day, and that's going to be noticeable.
And it seems like he's going into this fight feeling like you're just going to shoot all the time. I think he mentioned that in that interview as well, like, after 10 seconds he's just going to shoot. You showed a little bit in your last fight, though, that, if it doesn't go your way with the wrestling, then, you can deliver standing up. Do you think that he's looking past you when it comes to striking?
He might be. He's saying that he's better in every aspect of the game than me, but, I outboxed Alexander Jakobsen, which is one of the best strikers in the division. And I think he referenced my first Cage Warriors fight where I was fighting Scott Clist, a guy notorious for knocking people out, and that's kind of the thing he does best. Yeah. So I just think, that was our game plan, to put him down, where he can't knock me out if I'm on top of him. So
now, as I mentioned before, with the whole build-up in the trailer, it really embraced sort of like, your nickname is a true Viking, and they really pumped that up, and it does a lot for your image and your branding. One thing we also spoke about in the recent podcast about like sort of the UFC's marketing and stuff like that is that they've kind of lost their individuality of the fighters. And obviously you made it clear the UFC is your final goal. Is that something that's disappointing to you? That it seems like their marketing strategy has changed substantially and they're removing a lot of those sort of unique elements to the fighters.
Yeah, well, it kind of detracts from the whole experience, I think. When the fighters go out of their way to make a spectacle, it's why not take it? I'm just saying. Yeah. But there's still a few people like my Norwegian friend Emil still got his axe with them in the UFC. So I'm coming.
And so he's been very open about turning down the UFC, and you've been very open about respecting him for that. You feel like there's a bit of a different mindset there, because I remember him saying that the UFC needs him more than he needs the UFC and things like that. And he's a main event fighter in Liverpool where he's treated like just a superstar. Do you feel that you're coming in maybe a bit more level-headed, maybe taking things a bit cooler than he is, because he really seems to be embracing this main event status and just this view that people have of him in Liverpool?
Yeah, and we also when when I respect that he turned UFC down because he gave me a really good reason for it, and he talks about that in our head-to-head interview. Mm-hmm. That kind of thing doesn't really happen to guys in Denmark because the big events is not here. So we don't have the same kind of leverage that he does, and nothing in the same scale as his following. So, and you gotta respect that he built that for himself in Liverpool. That's really cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's when you kind of put that much pressure on yourself. And also in the interview, he talks about the only thing worse than losing in the Echo Arena was losing his grandparents. And I'm like, whoa, dude, don't put that much pressure on yourself, man. It's going to break you.
And we've seen that, main event status in your hometown doesn't necessarily mean a home field advantage because of a pressure. You got nothing to lose there. You don't have like a personal stake in the arena. Is that also something that you think is going to affect him?
It might. He's telling everybody that because of the pressure, he can't lose and he cannot give up in that arena. Well, sometimes you have to, and I'm gonna prove that.
Cage Warriors have been very good about sort of expanding into the Scandinavian market, and especially Denmark, where they announced the Cage Warriors Academy Denmark, which is obviously great for lifting yourself up as well. How do you feel about the progression of Danish MMA? We got Damir Hadjovic won recently in his latest UFC fight. How do you feel about the progression of Danish MMA, and where do you feel like it's going, and when do you think sort of the golden age is going to arrive for Denmark in particular? Because we already had Gustafsson with the Swedish superstar that sort of put Sweden on the map in that sense. When do you feel that explosion is going to come to Denmark?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. Well, because right now, when you look at who's arranging fight in Denmark, it's really only small Danish companies that invest the money to do pro shows in Denmark. So it's really good that Cage Warriors is coming. It's kind of bringing something new on the table, and also the placement is kind of far away from Copenhagen, because the main guy they signed with Marco Madsen. Mm-hmm. He's from there, so it's going to be a lot of a local favorite down there. Also, when you look at the Danish guys in the main stages, you got Damir and you got Mads Bonnell. Even though he lost his last fight, he put on a great showing and he just can't help but think that when it's my turn, that's when the golden age is coming.
All right, got you. Like you said, Paddy Pimblett, very tough guy to prepare for and such, but how exactly do you go about becoming the second Danish Cage Warriors champion on September 1st?
We do a lot of hard work every day, 2 times a day. Preparing, doing the cardio, doing the nutrition, and the mind games. It's just got to put all the work, and it will pay off. It will pay off.
And what's your prediction for how the fight ends on September 1st in the Echo Arena?
So I believe I said it before, that Paddy's either going to bleed out during the second or third round, or he might just give me a submission. That's my prediction.
All right, and so claiming it in a true Viking fashion, I've said it once before, one of the most exciting up-and-coming Nordic fighters, taking on one of the most exciting up-and-coming English fighters. I think fans are in for a treat, and thank you so much for your time. Good luck in the fight.
Thank you so much.